Good morning, my neighbors! How you doing, Brother Craig? How you doing?
One, two, 1, 2. Hey, good morning. It's hump day. Welcome to Morning Motivation, your daily dose of inspiration and empowerment. I'm your host, Jamon, and I'm thrilled to have you join us as we kickstart our day with positivity and purpose. So whether you're here to seek motivation, connect with like-minded individuals, or simply start your day on the right foot, you've come to the right place. And while you're coming in the door, go ahead and hit that like button. If you're new to the stream, shout us out, say hello. Promise we'll speak back. We're a family here. So it's good to see everybody today. Hope your week has gotten off to a good start. And yes, I know, life be lifing. But guess what? We have the power to control 95 of things that happen in our lives. And it's based off of our decisions, our habits, and our community. And we have a community here. So I'm excited to see all of you once again. August is gone. August is gone, y'all. Welcome to Morning Motivation. Shout out to Toronto Riggins. Auntie Canada's in the building. That chick, yo, what up, cuzzo? Hey, boo. Brother Craig. Be safe on that road, my guy. So, don't waste your prime. Don't waste your prime. That's what we're talking about today. What do I mean by that? We're all familiar with the term, don't waste your time. But we're talking about don't waste your prime. And I had a very interesting conversation with Jordan yesterday. Everybody who knows, Jordan is my youngest son. He just turned 18 last month. He just graduated high school the month before that. And he is in this space of life where my great grandmother used to say, it's time to or get off the pot. Now, if you're from the South, you know what that first word was. And so I've always had a rule with my children. And that rule is, once you graduate high school, there is no hanging around. There is no sitting around and figuring it out. No, it's time to make a move. So you have three choices. You can either go to college, figure it out while you are doing something. You could join the armed forces, which is what I did first. They'll give you a job. They'll give you a purpose. They'll put money in your pocket. And they'll get you away and give you some exposure. Different cultures, different cities, different countries. And the third option, you can get a job. You can get a job. But as an 18-year-old and as a 19-year-old, you're not exactly going to be getting any high-paying, quality, career-type jobs, at least not on the surface level. You can work your way up through a company, but put a 1 in the chat if you believe that the staying in one company 30 years, retiring with the gold watch days are over. If you believe that those times are past us, where you could go get a job with pretty much any company and work there for 30 years, make a good living. I don't believe that time is here anymore. That time has passed us by. With the event of technology, information, AI, YouTube, social media, jobs are not keeping people around and giving them cushy benefit packages and retirement packages anymore. Ew, right? Yeah. I mean, the thought of working for one company for 30 years it just don't sound good in this day and age. But in my parents' generation and some of your parents' generation, I know some of y'all only 21, 22, you know. But in my parents' generation, that was the thing. You got out of school, you got a job, you worked hard, you started a family, and you worked to retirement and hope that you could retire on whatever that retirement was. You get your Social Security, so you have two incomes, and hopefully you would live a happily ever after in your retirement years. But that has not been the case for some time. So I texted my son yesterday. Actually, I texted him a couple of days ago. And I said, hey, man, because he's working and he's making some changes. He decided not to go to college, at least right off. And so he has a job. He's working. And he had a little incident. He had his first flat tire. And, of course, he don't know how to change a tire. So I get a call roughly around, it's probably 12 o'clock, like last Friday or something like that. And I go up there and we pull out the tools and I let him do it. I coached him through everything. And he was out there sweating. The sun was high in the sky. It was a good learning lesson. And when he soaked it up, he appreciated it, he learned, he felt accomplished. And I said, hey, man, we need to have a conversation in a couple days. He said, oh, okay, about what? I said, well, about your moves and, your future plans for the next 6 months. Because I also have a rule. After you graduate and you don't go into the military and you don't go to college, you got 6 months to figure it out. 6 months. Now, I know. We'll put a 1 in the chat if you think that's unfair. Put a 1 in the chat if you think that rule is unfair. You got 6 months to figure it out. That might mean you might be trying to get in your own place. That might mean you come to me with a plan to say, well, this is what my plan is, and I'm bringing you this plan because I know you're going to hold me accountable. Because that's exactly what it means. You will not be laying up in my house. You will not be... Oh, man. You will not be laying up in your mama's house. You will not be laying around passing the time doing nothing. Because you can get real comfortable doing that. And especially as a man, you need to be on your purpose and you need to be on it early. So that's what we're talking about today. Don't waste your prime. And I think pretty much everybody in this room should be familiar with the saying, the seasons of life. Just like the seasons that we have in our normal year, especially here in North Carolina, we have all 4 seasons. We have a spring, summer, fall, and a winter. In some other states, you get summer and winter. In some other states, you pretty much get spring all year round, just depending on where you're from. But the spring of life is that phase where you're just coming off of a winter season. There's a new growth. The trees are turning green. The grass is growing. The bugs are coming back out. The flowers are blooming. There's a lot of beautiful things happening. The world starts to look amazing. New energy, new possibilities. Spring is a very beautiful time of the year. It's one of my favorite times of the year. In the life stage, though, it's kind of the same thing. It represents childhood and adolescence. It's a period of rapid growth, learning, development. And it's that time of life when everything is new. If you think about it, from a baby to a preteen, we learn so much during that time period. We learn so much about life, the beauty of the world. And life is giving, and it's constantly giving. It's a time of innocence. And there's a lot of excitement happening. Can anybody remember the first time they saw, especially if you didn't grow up in a coastal town, can you remember the first time you saw the ocean? Can anybody remember the first time they saw the ocean? I don't remember how old I was, and maybe this is why I love the ocean to this day. But the first time I saw the ocean, I think my parents took, I want to say it was Myrtle Beach. I think it was Myrtle Beach. And y'all know there's these causeways, these bridges that you go over before you get to the beach, but it's like just water everywhere, and the boats and the people. And I'm like, oh my God, wow. We're in the car and we're crossing this bridge, and it's like, I seen it on TV, but TV don't do it justice. It just don't do it justice. And then you get to the actual ocean, and you see the sand, and your feet are in the sand and the ocean and the seagulls, the spray of the salt water on the air. It's just like, oh man. it has always brought me a sense of calm, a sense of peace. What up, Kay? That, you know what, that first time, or the first time you had a crush on the girl or the guy in your classroom, the unknowns. Do you like me? Check yes or no. Oh man, those times when you were in elementary school and your first school play, the first time catching a bus. I mean, all of these times are the spring of life. It's the spring of life. It's when there is the most hope. What do you want to be when you grow up, young man? What do you want to be when you grow up, young lady? What do you want to be? And the possibilities are endless. There's so many things, and I wanted to be an NFL player. And I thought that I would be able to pull that one off. I was just telling somebody yesterday how, I ain't been short my whole life. I was actually tall once upon a time. Yeah, I was actually tall. I was like in 5th grade, 6th grade. Shoot, man, I was like the 3rd tallest person in the class. Hell, I was about the same size as my teacher. And then I never grew again. I mean, so those NFL dreams were dashed very quickly. Hit 7th and 8th grade, all the guys shot past me, all the girls caught up with me, and I'm just like, wait, what's happening? What's happening? But the springtime of life, and for a lot of people, they will consider that your prime years, but it's not really your prime. Those are your foundational years. The springtime of life, it is truly your foundational years, and that's when good parenting is crucial, because your character, your morals, your values, it all happens during that time period. Your decision-making skills, it all happens during that time period. Your habits, whether it's eating, exercise, they're all formed during that time. And so Jordan is he's in a critical space right now. And so we talked yesterday, and at first he was like, man, here come dad. Dad about to do some dad stuff again. Cause I always got my foot, squarely, not on their neck, but it's always ready to be on their neck, and they know it. So I hold my children accountable. I always want a plan. I always let them decide. So I don't care what you decide, because it's your life. I even told them, I said, look, if you decide you just want to be a not as kind of person and just, exist, I'd be disappointed, but I respect it, because that's your life. It's your life to live. I won't love you any less, but the expectation is that you supersede anything that I've done. That's the expectation. And my job as a parent, as a father, is to help you do that. Matter of fact, y'all see the swag, right? Y'all see the swag. Father Figure Institute. Sure look good too, right? Shout out to my boo. She designed that logo and everything. Had the shirts printed out. But the prime of your life is probably really the first 50 years. So today and next week, we're going to talk about the seasons of life. And so today we're going to really cover the spring season, that new season. And I know most of us are not in that 0 to 21 range anymore. But you have children, you have grandchildren, you have nieces, you have nephews. There's somebody that you have influence over that's in that age range. So today's show I want to dedicate to that age range, because what you do from 0 to 18, depending upon what kind of family environment you come from, it may not always be on you. Speak for myself. It may not always be within your control, because you don't control what family you're born into. You don't control what socioeconomic status your family is in. You don't determine what gender, what race. You determine none of that. You just have to learn and grow with where you're planted. But something about that 18 to 21 range, you now have a choice. You now have the freedom to make some independent decisions. And so that's why I named today's show, Don't Waste Your Prime. In those spring years, literally 0 to 21, as a parent, our job is to get our children's from knowing nothing to being functional adults, to have good habits, to have a good foundation morally, ethically, have good character, good decision-making skills. That's really all our jobs are as parents. Give them a leg up. Give them a little bit better situation than we were born into. That's really all we can do as parents. But at 18, they're considered legally grown. They're considered adults. And at that point, what you did before, now they have to walk that thing out. Now walk it out. That's where it is. That's where it is. And so what are some of the things that can derail you in your spring years? Y'all talk to me. What's some of the things that can derail you in your spring years? I told my children last Sunday, we were talking, and your life, the success of your life is based largely on what you do in your 20s, because the 20s is your launch pad, if you will. It's your launch pad. Most people spend the first 10 years from 20 to 30 just trying to figure it out, whether it's through education, whether it's through trial and error. So what are some of the things that can derail you in your spring? Anybody got any thoughts? Ooh, Kay said the wrong group of friends and associates. Exactly. That is definitely one of them. And because all of my children, my older children, have all been going through this 18 to 21 period, I've been going through this 18 to 21 period for the last probably 8 years. And so I'm basically giving the same talking points every time. Having the wrong people in your ear. What's up, Mo? Might be an unpopular take, but kids too early. No, it's not an unpopular take, Kay. For some people, having kids too early, having children in the wrong context, could definitely derail you. Could definitely derail you. So one of the first things that I found when I look back over my life, it's definitely the negative peer, the negative friend groups. But for me, it was the lack of discipline. But my lack of discipline did not bother me because I went into the military, because I was an athlete. So I had discipline, but I wasn't disciplined in my eating habits. And to Kay's point, I wasn't disciplined in my sexual habits. And so I never had as good a health as I could have had. Now, I'm not in bad health now or in shape now, but I could have been better. I could have had the summer body all year round every year. I wouldn't have had to work my butt off for 3 months to get back in the summertime shape. If my eating habits were better. Now, you can't outwork a bad diet. I was in the military and we worked out every day. We did PT every day. So I stayed in optimal health, in optimal shape. I just didn't quite look as good as I could have looked. Because my eating habits were bad, because I lacked discipline in that department. Because I had emotional traumas, emotional damage. I was inconsistent in a lot of things. I would procrastinate. I was delaying things. Put a 1 in the chat if you can relate to this. Procrastinated on things that I know I should have done, and that became a habit. And to this day, procrastination still camps out over here in the corner. What you do from 18 to 21, from 18 to 30 actually, it makes a huge difference in your outcomes from 30 to 50. Because that's the foundation, your foundational adult years. I didn't learn how to be consistent early on because I didn't feel like it. Man, I don't feel like studying for this test. I don't feel like doing an extra assignment. I don't feel like it. Feelings and discipline, they kind of like, they're arch enemies. They fight each other. They fight each other because your mind is telling you, you need to go do this. But your feelings are saying, but we don't feel like it today. So yeah, you wake up one day and you're not as prepared for stuff. You're not as prepared for opportunities when they come. And all of this is what wasting your prime looks like. But when you're young, you think you got time. You think you have time. And so you mismanage your time. You spend way too much time. In my era, it was watching TV. You know, the 90s was full of sitcoms, and it was sitcoms on every network from the time you got up in the morning to the time you lay down at night. It was sitcoms. That was the golden era, I think, of television. Every network. Then you had the new networks, the WB, with all your Wayans brothers and sister, and you know, it was something for everybody. And when you mismanage your time, you don't have a focus on anything. There is no focus. There's just, I'll take it as it comes. And I think we talked about this last year when I talked about that word called drifting. One of my, I don't want to say it's one of my favorite books, but the book is called Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. He's the guy who wrote How to Win Friends and Influence People, and Think and Grow Rich, and quite a few books. But one of the last books that he wrote was Outwitting the Devil. And in that book, the character that is playing or portraying the devil, he was asking him, well, let me set it up first. Okay, so the book was a conversation between two people or two entities. One was a human male, and the other was what you would consider as the devil. And he tricked him into a conversation and told, and because of the trick, he had to divulge his secrets of how he manipulate mankind, how he destroys, and how he makes all these bad things happen. And so his thing The number one thing he did was he caused people to drift. We did do it last year because I used the example of, have you ever been in a real bad rainstorm, and then there's leaves blowing everywhere, and then right in the gutter where all the water is going to the drain, you see a leaf floating on the water, and it's just going with the current. That leaf can't go left, it can't go right, it's just stuck, it's drifting. And whatever happens to that leaf is going to happen to that leaf, and the leaf really can't do nothing about it because it's drifting. And so that was the premise of, that's how the best way I understood it. And when you get into a space where you're just drifting, meaning you're not being intentional about your goals, you're not being intentional about your finances, you're not being intentional about your health, you're not being intentional about your relationships, you go into a space where you drift. And now anything that comes in is going to throw you further and further off course. It's like being a boat on the ocean with no engine. The engine blew out. And now you at the mercy of the waves and the tide and the wind. That's what drifting is like in real life. No goals, no clear focus. You just aimlessly just out there. Put a 1 in the chat if you know people like that. Give me a 1 if you know people like that. They just existing. They don't seem to have any kind of thoughts or plans, or you don't even know why are you here? What purpose do you have? What goal or what ambition do you have? Ladies, if you out and about and a young man comes up to you, I'm about to say a fella, that's what my auntie used to say, and a young fella comes up to you, are you more interested if he has nothing going on for himself, or are you more interested when he actually got a plan? And I know this may be a subjective question. You would think it's not, but I've asked a very similar question to a lot of people, and I'm always surprised that the answers that I get, well, we can figure it out together. we can figure it out and we can become a power couple. Just like, baby, if this man ain't got no ambition when you met him, he's probably not gonna have no ambition when you with him. Just, just gonna throw that out there. So yeah, drifting is what hinders the growth. So if you're a parent and you don't have your child doing anything, if you're not making sure they're doing their homework, if you're not making sure that or holding them accountable to getting at least passing grades, I mean, the bare minimum is we need to pass, right? But we want to keep you in that A-B range. We don't want you in that C-D range. Because one bad test, one missed assignment, and you failing. But if we are a person who is drifting through life, what are the odds that our children are going to drift? And so as a parent, we're doing our children a disservice, and we're wasting their prime. Because odds are we probably wasted ours. So this goes to the whole conversation about hereditary things, right? If your mother was, had high blood pressure or diabetic, then the doctors, they always ask that question to your mother and father, what's their health status? Because odds are you're probably going to have some of the same outcomes. And I used to think it was because it was something in the DNA that if my mother was diabetic, then I would have to be diabetic because she was. But what I discovered as I got older that it's because you have the same DNA, you eat the same kind of foods, you have the same kind of habits. So it stands to reason that if your mother and your father suffer from these conditions, you probably will as well if you don't change some things. If you don't be a little bit more proactive, if you keep drifting along that same line. Now, there are some things that happen in our life that we don't really have a lot of control of. Some external things, some economic hardships, some pandemics, some deaths in the family. There's things that we just can't control. And this is when the drifting, the lack of focus, the lack of attention really hurts us. When things pop up, when life be lifing, and we're not prepared for it, then we tend to spiral out of control faster, get a little caught up in lost in the sauce, as they say, a lot easier. What Kay call it? She says they call it genetic predisposition, but it should be habitual predisposition. Yeah, because it really is based on your habits. Now, I will agree that there's some genetic markers that will make us more susceptible to certain things. But because the human body is so amazing at healing itself, that if we simply be intentional about how we eat, what we're eating, why we're eating it, we could nullify a lot of those situations and problems. I'm proud of my oldest son because he comes in my house and looks at first thing he do when he come in my house, he look in my pantry and he looking for snacks. Not to eat, but to criticize me because I got snacks in my house. Come on, Pop, what you doing, man? You still eating these? You still on this? I'm like, bruh, you better leave me alone. He said, see, man, in my house, man, I want my house set up to where I'm eating like this forever. I'm like, well, go to your house then. But no, he's 100%, factual about it, and I know it. And he even recognized when he come in sometime, y'all ate these yet? It's like, yeah, we don't. I mean, the worst snack I eat is tortilla chips and salsa. I mean, it's like the worst snack I eat. I don't really do a lot of donuts and cakes and cookies. I used to, but I realized I have some diabetics in my family. And if I don't want to be diabetic, I probably need to, preserve, keep my body from becoming insulin resistant, basically. So I don't eat as much as I used to eat. I don't eat as frequently as I used to eat. So now when I get emotional, or have tragedy that happens in the family and I'm in my feelings because I'm an emotional eater. So now when I go binging for a week or two, my body can recover faster because that's not normally what I do. But if it's what I do every day and then I go deeper in the hole, oh, no doubt, he will smash a Pop-Tart. Bad habits. Like he got that from me because I kept my pantry filled with at least 2 to 3 boxes of Pop-Tart. It was like my guilty pleasure that I ate every day. So I guess that Pop-Tart was like a staple food in my house. It was a staple food. It was a staple food. I'm kind of ashamed to admit it, but then again, I'm not because I grew up literally during the 80s. And they market all the sugary, sweet things and the treats and the cereals and the Pop-Tarts, the honey buns. Oh, man. Oh, you was talking about me. Yeah, but I'm good though. It's only occasionally. I used to eat like 2, 3 of them jokers every day. I get me a glass of milk, drop them 2 little Pop-Tarts in the toaster. Oh, y'all think that's funny, huh? Junior will eat one every now and then too. You just don't see him do it. But you know, he will. Get them jokers crispy on the edges and still gooey on the inside. Oh, man. Yeah, having a fat boy moment right now. Is there Pop-Tart downstairs? Might be. I don't know. But anyway, yeah. See, habits. These habits were formed in my youth, in my spring of life. That's when they were formed. And they still live with me to this day. And I have to be super intentional about not doing it because I know it's not the best for me. I know it's not healthy for me. And if I'm intentional about my life and I know I want to live a long life, I don't want to be hitting myself with insulin, pricking my finger 2 and 3 times a day. Haha, blueberries my favorite. Blueberries was good, but I'm like more of the brown sugar, cinnamon and brown sugar, s'mores, strawberry. Blueberry will fall probably after those 3. But if it's Pop-Tarts in the cabinet, I'm eating it regardless of what it is. I don't care. But if I'm buying them, it's going to be, you know, I love the cinnamon. I love cinnamon and sweet. I love cinnamon sweet. So we drift. We get caught up as children sometimes because our parents, honestly, they did the best they knew how to do. They were still living from habits that they picked up in their springtime, and they shared it as a pastime. We adopted it, perpetuated it, and so now we have all these generations of unhealthy eating, unhealthy habits and workouts and things that we didn't do because once upon a time in the black community, you didn't have access. You didn't have the resources to be, you know, well, actually you could because you could grow everything. You had to grow everything. In a sense, once upon a time, there wasn't always grocery stores. You had to grow your own fruits and veggies. But y'all get what I'm saying, though. In this modern era, we are processed foods crazy. Alcohol, drugs, I mean, everything is to the max now. And if our children come along in their spring years, aren't prepared to make good decisions, they don't know what it looks like, they're just following the blueprint of what we're doing, not only are we failing ourselves, but we're also failing them. So what's some of the things that should be happening? What time is it? What's some of the things that actually should be happening? Well, before I go into that, before I get off of drifting, I do want to say, add this last little piece to that. When you don't have control over your life, it's never a good thing. So for an example, let's equate drifting, your life, to your car. Put a 1 in the chat if you would like to hop in your car, get on the highway, start doing about 70, and then the steering goes out. The brakes go out, and the car is just drifting. That's kind of a dumb put a 1 in the chat for it, but because it's a very obvious question. Nobody wants to be in a car that's out of control. So why do we live our life that way? Why aren't we intentionally making sure that we have brakes, that we have gas in the car, that steering works? Matter of fact, don't have power steering if you want to. Let that fluid be running out. I mean, you be in there like lifting weights trying to turn that thing. But as intentional as you are about your hair, about your makeup, about your car, about your clothing, We are more intentional about those things than we are about what we eat, how we study, how we live, where we work, who we date sometimes. Being intentional about everything is how you become happy. It's having discipline. Freedom is not free. Happiness isn't given. They're both earned. They're both earned. The number one thing I hear from people is, I just want to be happy. Is it too much to ask? Can I be happy? I know I've said it. I just want to be happy. Right? But I keep on doing the things. 'Cause I'm not happy. Cry myself to sleep. Whole song about it. Happy. But true happiness only truly comes when you are disciplined and you are intentional. The more focused you are in your prime years, the better outcomes you'll have in your more advanced years. The more foundation you build early on weathers more storms. Can y'all imagine back in the day when people would just they would find this nice little plot of land right by the ocean and they go build this nice little house right on the sand. Wake up every morning to beautiful views and the ocean sounds and the just everything that gives me that peace. And then the first storm comes and you wake up and your house is 3 feet of ocean in your house. You evacuate the house, and as you're evacuating the house, you're watching the ocean just take your house into the ocean. That's what happens when we drift. It's like building a foundation or building your house on the sand. But if you were intentional about building your house, you would know high tide comes here. Storm surge comes this far. So if I'm going to have my house on the beach, I need to put it on stilts. And I need to put those stilts into a solid foundation. Because you're intentional about it. Life doesn't happen for the good by accident. Favorable things can happen, and they will happen from time to time. But the long-lasting relationship happiness. My wife and I, we've been in therapy since 2020. Yeah, we've been in therapy since 2020. Couples therapy. Just go, once a month, doing checkups, talking about stuff that happens. Why? We don't have a bad marriage. We go because we're intentional about making our relationship work, making it last. Am I perfect? I know y'all might find this hard to believe, but I'm not. I know that might be, you know what I'm saying? I know that might be tough for some of you to believe. But I'm not. And I get on her nerves quite often. I don't move as fast as she would like me to move sometimes. And then I move too fast on other times. And I can be annoying. She claimed that I snore, but I really think it's her. But I think she's deflecting. But if I did snore, yes, and we also love our therapist. We found a really good therapist. So it's not painful to go see her. I know that she has our best interests. She's not rooting for her or rooting for me. She's rooting for us. And I know that's rare to find. People don't want to go to therapy because they feel like they're going to be judged. Oh, okay. But life has to be lived on purpose, or you will soon find yourself on a skid out of control. I mean, just think about everything that the ups, the highs, and the lows that we've had as a family this year. Not biased. Appreciate you, Mo. How could we be able to maintain everything that's happened this year? All the stress, loss of loved ones, still having to show up and perform and be whatever we need to be, if we did not have a lot of intentional habits in our life, discipline. So if you want true happiness, if you want true freedom, it has to be earned, and you do it as early as possible. You teach your children. You set the example, because you may be past your spring years. You might be, in the next season of life, which we'll talk about next week. But it's not too late to still plant or build a strong foundation. Really, no matter where you are, if you're still drawing breath, you can still build a stronger foundation. You can add to what you've already put down. Another author that I like a lot, he's passed now, a guy named Wayne Dyer. Wayne Dyer wrote a lot of books. He did a lot of shows. And one of his quotes that I loved, and it helped me change my perspective on some things some years ago. And the quote goes that when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And it's about perspective. A lot of us, we look back at our youth and we say, man, I wish I would have done it differently. I wish I would have had more of this. I wish my parents had more this, or I wish, I would have never met this particular person because they messed up my life, And we look back and we see the bad things. We see the things that put us in that victim space. I've been vocal about this, for probably about a year or two now, once I really came to the understanding. I used to be really upset with my father for some things. I thought, not to disclose too much, but I thought he didn't treat me right. I thought he didn't treat me fairly, in certain aspects. And then one day, I realized that my dad was just a dude. And I know I've said it before, but it's when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. My dad was just a dude. He was a dude trying to do the best he knew how. He had fears. He had some great habits, but he also had some bad habits. He was just a person. And when I started understanding that he was just a person, just like me, I began to see him differently. Now, I've only been talking about this for a couple of years, but this actually happened a few years ago. Like 15 or so, maybe even 20 years ago, when I looked at my dad and just was like, I pulled the cape, the Superman cape off of him, and I pulled all the responsibility away from him, and I just looked at him like, my dad is a dude. He's a dude who just didn't get some information, who just didn't have the tools. Monique says, our daughter has been thanking us lately because now she gets it. Ooh, that's a sweet, sweet feeling there anymore. Oh, man. On that same note, I gave my dad a Father's Day card a few years ago, and it said, "Thank you for being the bad guy. I see you. I love you. Happy Father's Day." I mean, it was just that simple. That was the first time I ever seen my father cry, and he was trying. He was straining to hold them tears in. Oh, he was straining to hold them tears in, but the emotion overwhelmed him. The emotion overwhelmed him because I finally saw him. I finally understood. Because now I have children and I'm just a dude doing the best I can. Oh, Bobby says, is she over 24? Because that's what I started thinking, folks. Oh, Monique said she'll be 25. Yeah, I mean, just keep living. And that's why I've never had an interest in being my children's friend. Because I've been your age before. You've never been mine. So I'm intentional about the messages that I give my children. I'm intentional. That's the magic age, right? I'm intentional about it because I understand, even though I didn't get certain things in my springtime, that doesn't mean I can't make sure my children get it. Just because my parents didn't have the tools to give me some of the things that I needed during my spring, that doesn't mean I have to give my children the same. So when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. When you get a new perspective, when you get a new appreciation, and we do that, somebody tell me, how do we get a new appreciation and a new perspective? How do we do it? It's one word. We used to do it a lot in the beginning of the shows. What is it? Somebody know, come on. Well, we're going to say it all together. Come on, somebody know. I know there's about a 15-second delay roughly. So I'm filibustering because I really want somebody to drop this answer in here. What's that one word? How do we gain appreciation? Oh, affirmation's close. It's the other word. It's the other one. It's gratitude. Y'all was close. Y'all was in there. Y'all was in the pocket. Gratitudes are the thing that helps you change your perspective. Because when you start to say, I'm grateful that, yeah, even though this thing over here, it sucks, even though I'm not functioning right over here and this is not going according to plan, but I'm grateful that I'm grateful that I can even have the problem. Because I remember a time when I didn't have a job. I remember a time when I was driving Lyft or door dashing or Postmating because I got you, Mo. It's all good. I know Mo would have had it. I know she typed the wrong word in. This area of my life may not be going according to plan, but I get to go home to a family that loves me. I get to go home to a nice home, a home that has lights on, a home that has some AC and some heat, a home that has Wi-Fi. I'm driving in a car that I ain't worried about it breaking down on me right now. When you start being grateful for the things that you have, it tends to change the perspective that you're in right now. Gratitude is how we do it. Gratitude. And I can't really say it enough. Life is supposed to be lived on purpose. Drifting is the devil. A home that has Pop-Tarts in it. Hey, or I can go to the store and buy some Pop-Tarts, right? So regardless of what's happening in this spring season, as a parent, we should be giving those habits to our children. We should be teaching them about discipline. We should be giving them good habits, instilling those things in them. Because in the spring season, let's be honest, life is giving everything. You don't really understand what consequences are just yet. You haven't lived long enough to even have a history or a track record to say, oh, I've done this, I've done that, those didn't work. No, because everything is new. So don't be hard on yourself if you got through your spring season and you didn't get it all right. You made some mistakes and they cost you. You got some scars and some trauma now. Don't be hard on yourself because the spring is so new. Everything's exciting. You have to go bump your head sometimes. You have to go bump your head. But now that you're older and you know better, teach better. You know better, do better. Because there's going to come a season when you ain't going to have the energy to do a whole lot. You're not going to be current enough, plugged into the culture enough to go out there and impact anything really on a grand level. Most of us are what we're going to be talking about on Monday, and that's that summer. Most of us, pretty much all of us, are still in that summer phase right now. So people like me, I'm kind of heading out of my summer. But most of y'all smack dead in the middle of y'all summers. So that's what we're going to talk about on Monday. Yep, that's what we're talking about on Monday. And I think Monday, is Monday a holiday? Monday's a holiday. I'm game. I tell you what, I'm going to get online on Monday. Anyway, and if you guys are here, cool. If not, cool. I'll just do, there's a couple other topics, current event topics that I want to talk about. And so I'll talk about them if you're not here with that. But yeah, Monday's a holiday. But why not? Why not? You a spring chicken. Yeah, so I don't really sleep in anymore. Cool. I don't sleep in anymore. So, yeah. Try not to get myself off schedule too much because I got to be real intentional about how I put my time now. But anywho, that's one of the 4 seasons. Spring season. So, hope it made sense to you all. Hope you got something out of it. Because in the spring season, we experience a lot of missed opportunities sometimes. If I should happen to put some ribs on the grill, huh? Oh man. Okay, well maybe Monday will be a special Labor Day. What's it, Labor Day? Yeah, Labor Day episode. I don't know. We'll work it out. But anyway, man. Appreciate all of you. So thank you for joining me this morning. If you've enjoyed today's episode, be sure to give it a thumbs up, like it, so y'all gonna stay ready. Oh man. Tell a friend, share this. Y'all wild, man. I love y'all though. So until next time, man, y'all have an amazing day. Keep striving for greatness. Be kind to yourself. Love on each other. Be intentional about life. Discipline is not an ugly word. Discipline truly means happiness. So y'all be blessed. Have a great day, and we will see you on Monday. I'll be on the Facebook and on the YouTube with whatever special thing I want to do on Monday. So y'all stay tuned for that. I'll see you then. Peace.